Now, we also know that AI is the technology of the future. It is going to be more remunerative than a lot of other technology. It's likely going to be recession proof as well for some time to come. So I think it is absolutely incumbent that we ensure that more women join this sort of technology in this movement. Otherwise, 10 years from now, again, we'll be sitting and discussing why aren't there more women in AI leadership.
Hello and welcome to the Anahita Speaker Series that we present by Carnegie India, where we celebrate powerful stories of empowerment, struggle, and success from women professionals across the globe. These are stories that we hope will inspire young professionals everywhere. I'm Aishanya Gupta, a research assistant and program coordinator at Carnegie India, and today we are delighted to have with us Miss Aditi Jha, board director and country head for legal and government affairs at LinkedIn India. Prior to LinkedIn, Aditi worked at ITC Limited, Johnson & Johnson, and Nishit Desai and Associates. She earned her LLB from the National University of Juridical Sciences and holds a master's degree from Stanford University. Thank you so much for joining us, Aditi. Very delighted to have a conversation with you today.
Thank you, Aishanya. Thank you for having me. And I must also commend this initiative of bringing real stories out. So yeah, I'm looking forward and I'm excited about this conversation as well.
Great. Just to start the conversation, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your journey from law school to leading LinkedIn India's legal and public policy team. Do you think this was intentional or incidental?
I wish I could say that it was completely planned and choreographed, but in 2005 when I graduated NUJS, unfortunately, this company and this job title didn't even exist. Right? In 2005, there was no tech law and there was no tech policy. A lot of social media companies were just starting up. But I do want to step back a little bit and talk about how I got into law in the first place. So if you were growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s, and if you were good in academics, then there were just two career options for you. Either became an engineer or you became a doctor. There was like no third option available. So for me, going to law school was a little bit of an act of teenage rebellion. Much to my parents' disappointment, that the good kid decided to do something as crazy as go to law school. But for me, we talk about this whole thing that you can only become if you see examples. So there were two seniors of mine in school who I really looked up to, who I thought were very inspirational, and both of them headed to National Law School. So for me, my heart was set on going there. So NUJS happened. I graduated 20 years back. I'm dating myself, and my first job was at ITC. I joined their in-house legal team. I spent about 5 or 6 years there, and I had the opportunity to work on IP, on building up the patent cell. There was new regulations on competition and antitrust coming in, so we worked on organization-wide readiness plan. I also supported a wide range of businesses there. So, of course, the big business was tobacco, and then which was very compliance heavy, which was a very large business. But at that point in time, the company was also trying to break into FMCG products. So they were working on personal care products and food products, which was a very startup mindset within the same organization. So it was very interesting that you have this many thousands of crores worth big business, and then you also have these these startups. So there was a lot of agility and adaptability that I learned there. Somewhere down the line, I realized that my academic knowledge is not complete. NUJS was great, but of course we spent a lot of time outside class than in the classroom. So at my 5th year, I decided that I want to do a master's program, and I was fortunate to be admitted into Stanford's master's in law, specializing in law, science, and technology. That was a fantastic exposure to a global curriculum. Of course, you're in the heart of Silicon Valley. There were 18-year-olds who had already built and sold their first company, and they were in the undergrad program, and you start rethinking all your life choices. But it also gave me a wonderful exposure to cross-cultural communication. The LLM program is composed of lawyers from across the world to different legal systems. We grew up in the common law legal system here. There were people from the continental style, so it was a great mind opening, horizon broadening experience. And I think my biggest takeaway from the Stanford program, again, spent more time outside class than inside the class, was the relationships that you develop, the friendships that you make. And I'm still friends with a lot of my classmates. It's been more than 15 years, and they're sort of my personal board of advisors. When I'm making a career choice, when I'm trying to figure out, if there's a complex problem that I'm trying to solve, those are the people I still reach out to. After Stanford, I joined Nishidesai Associates in their TMT practice. It's one of India's leading law firms when it comes to TMT. And at that point in time, we were working on a lot of complex healthcare and life sciences questions as well. Johnson and Johnson was a client, and then at some point they asked me to come over, and I graciously did. Johnson and Johnson is a storied 100-year-old company. Great brands, Aveeno, Neutrogena, Stay Free, J&J Baby, all of that. So it was fantastic. It was a fantastic exposure from understanding how differently decisions are made in healthcare. How do you make ethical decisions? And at that point in time, there was a lot of learning on how do you do crisis management, how do you do reputation management. So it was a whole different skill set that I was able to build within staying within ethical boundaries. I mean, J&J had a very strong moral fiber and ethical rules that they complied with. And then I was not looking out for a job, and LinkedIn showed up in my LinkedIn inbox. I was the first Indian lawyer that they hired, and I joined in 10 years back. I've been in LinkedIn for almost 10 years. I started with building the groundwork for concluding commercial contracts, for enabling sales. So a lot of my work was negotiating complex B2B SaaS contracts with big Indian companies. Tech was a beloved sector. There were no regulations in tech in 2016. It's unbelievable when you think of it now. And then regulations started coming in. So the intermediary rules came in, and then there was the first time we had social media interface with elections in 2019, where the ECI came out with guidelines. So I started doing more and more of these regulatory works. And then in 2020, I also took on the role of leading public policy and government affairs for LinkedIn. And then a couple of years later, I joined the board. So a lot of people do ask me, it's been 10 years, LinkedIn, it's a really long time. I said, I haven't changed my job, but my job has completely changed on me. I think none of these were conscious, choreographed life plans. But when you look backwards, the dots connect, as Steve Jobs has said famously.
Yes. But I'm curious. You mentioned that you worked across like a span of different sectors from tobacco to tech. But how would you say these experiences across all of these different organizations working on a range of issues have helped you almost spend a decade in your time at LinkedIn and in your current role now?
That's a fantastic question. So I do not read a lot of nonfiction.
Okay.
I'll start with that caveat. But there's one book that I recently read. It's by Epstein. It's called Range. And what it basically says is that we've slowly as a society we've gotten very specialized in the work that we do. Right? Everyone is a specialist. But his theory is that in the world that's coming, and he calls it the wicked world. In the world that's coming, it's generalists will be very, very successful because things are changing so fast. So generalists who've had an exposure to a wide variety of contexts, to a wide variety of problems, they'll be able to bring those skills to the new wicked world.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, and I feel like I really resonate with that. And I know I'm a lawyer, and it's a very specialist function within companies. But I've started in FMCG, where I learned that discipline and execution is paramount. Look, FMCG, when you're selling a 5 rupee product, a 10 rupee product, right? All your strategies are zero if you're not able to do it with discipline, and you're not able to do it with if you're not able to land execution. In law firms, with the time that I spend there, I don't think there's another place where you can learn analytical sharpness and rigor, right? Because that's sort of the work that they do. It's intellectual, it's mental, it's really pushing you to think creatively and analytically. In healthcare, as I mentioned in the previous answer, healthcare was a whole different mindset, right? It teaches you how to make responsible decisions. It teaches you how to make ethical decisions. You realize that the work that you're doing, it actually impacts people's lives, patients, doctors, hospitals. It teaches you to work with different types of stakeholders, and all of whom who have different incentives, whether it's insurance, medical insurance, whether it's hospitals, patients, doctors. They're all you medical representatives. So it's a whole wide variety of stakeholders that you work with. In tech, I think it was speed. Like coming from Johnson and Johnson, again, 100-year-old company, healthcare, where things are done very cautiously, to a Silicon Valley company like LinkedIn, where it's like this whole thing about let's hustle, fail fast, break things. So speed was something that I learned. Then I learned ambiguity. Like I said, in 2016 there was no tech regulation. So as a lawyer, what are you supposed to advise on, right? It's not like there's a law and you interpret it and you tell the business this is what you should be doing. So dealing with ambiguity, like you're at the edge where no laws exist, but you still need to find the first principles that you want to operate from. So I think all of these have taught me a wide variety of skills, but it also taught me adaptability, agility, problem solving, which is incredible for the role that I do right now. For instance, in any decision that I take right now, I have to go from macro to micro, from strategy to execution, to think about what policymakers will think of it, what will civil society think of it, what will society think of it, and then also think about what is good for in terms of the company's strategy as well as company's operations. These are also sometimes at conflict, because some of them are long-term decisions and some of them are very here and now. There's a quarter and there's a target for the quarter to be met. So I think I'm able to make sense of a lot of this complexity because of the wide variety of experiences that I've had. And I think I've also learned the ability to translate, because you work with a whole range of stakeholders. So sometimes when you're speaking to the business, you're able to translate what the government thinks. When you're talking to the government, you're able to translate what your business thinks. So I think that's also a valuable skill that I've picked up across these different sectors.
No, I think I've been able to understand your role a lot better from the skills that you've mentioned that you've developed. But I'm also just in extension of talking a little bit about your role more. You're also in the board leadership.
Yeah.
And as you realize, there's also a lot of symbolic weight that's attached to when a woman joins a board leadership. How do you think you associate yourself in a space like this, and what does this role mean to you in this setting?
Fantastic. This is a topic really close to my heart, Ishanya. I have two daughters. They're twins. They're both 6.
Okay.
And for me, it's a personal mission that I want to do my bit to leave the world of work a little bit more equitable than say the world that I joined. So me, it's not just rhetoric. It's deeply personal. The data that we can see on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is the world's largest professional platform. We're like about 1.3 billion members right now, 165 million in India. We have all the company's job skills listed. And the way these data sets interact with each other, it gives us a unique worldview of what's happening in the world of work. And we can see what's happening with women's leadership. And it's sobering. The rate of people of women joining leadership roles has been the rate of growth has been very small since 2016. It's like 1%, 1.5% every year. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is that it's also beginning to plateau. So for me, it's like, okay, one is that the women being hired into leadership is stagnating, and the second for me, which I find even more disturbing, is that we're not just losing representation, we're also losing those role models for the next generation, right? So I take my board leadership role, I take my role on LinkedIn's leadership team. not as a reward, but as a responsibility.
Hmm.
I use that position to advocate for more equitable workplaces, for more equitable product policies, practices, as far as possible. I try and be a mentor to as many young women as possible. And whenever you give me a soapbox and a mic, I will talk about this issue. So yeah, like I said, it's not a reward. It's not just representation. It's infrastructure almost, so to say, and it's deeply personal to me.
Thank you so much for that. And while we speak a little bit about your role, I realize that artificial intelligence is sort of linked to everything that one does today, whether at LinkedIn or any other organization. And I wanted to know if you could share any examples of AI driven initiatives that LinkedIn India has been hosting to help people upskill or reskill while you've been in the board leadership and also in the public policy team.
Thank you, Ashanya. Yes, you cannot have any conversation if you're not talking about AI. I mean, is it even a conversation? But what excites me about AI, is its power to expand access to opportunity. Now, a LinkedIn's vision and mission is to provide economic opportunity to every member of the workforce.
Yeah.
Now, what we do know is that access to opportunity is not really equitable. We are all a product of the networks that we have, right? The family you were born into, the school you went to, the jobs you've had, the city you were born in. So all of these have a disproportionate effect on the networks that we have, and therefore what access to economic opportunity, what access to aspiration, right? Like if you don't have people around you who have done things, then you don't even know that those are things that are worth aspiring for. So for me, I think AI that way is fantastic because the scale that it has, and the fact that it can help people find access to opportunity. It can help people learn much faster than they have before. They can express themselves much more confidently, especially in a country like India where you don't speak English. That's like 50% of your opportunity is gone. But AI can really bridge a lot of those gaps. So I'm excited about what AI can do in terms of democratizing access to opportunity beyond just productivity. Of course, there's going to be a lot of productivity gains with AI, but for me, what I'm really excited about is the leveling of the playing field, especially for professionals who've traditionally faced barriers, whether it's women, whether it's first generation people who are coming into the workforce, people who did not go to an English medium school, people from tier 2, tier 3 towns. Yeah, so that's something I'm really excited about, and I think LinkedIn is doing a lot of work with AI in solving for access to opportunity, in solving for closing this network gap. So, of course, we have a lot of skills and learning courses, as well as AI skilling pathways that we've made available free for our members. That's one. The second is we're doing a lot of work around AI skilling with nonprofit partners, with governments around the world. We are working with multilaterals, federal and state government, and we're advising them basis the data and insights that we have on how they can refine and shape and mold their workforce and skill development policies, the education curriculum, all of that. And I think we're also building a lot of it into our products. So when you go and when you try writing a post on LinkedIn, it can says like AI can write it for you. They can help you write better. So it can help you create better content. It can help recruiters reach out to you faster and better. And I think a very interesting piece that we've just done very recently. It's not yet launched in India, but it's coming soon. Is say you are someone who loves music, and but you want to do something in AI as well. Um, you can just like go into the search bar and do like a natural language search that I'm interested in music. I want to also work on AI, and it'll throw up an audio engineer job in Dolby. Now, you may not know a job like audio engineer exists, and you may not know this company Dolby, but it can help you get that access to opportunity. So yeah, so those are pieces that I'm really excited about on closing that network gap that exists today.
So, if I was to summarize what you did say and understand, you do factor in diversity and inclusivity into sort of all decision making, not limited only to AI driven initiatives at LinkedIn?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. So, yeah, so it's not just, so when we think about diversity inclusion, it's not just about AI, but we've been building that into a product for a very long time. And I know you and I spoke about gender and women's representation a while back. The couple of things that I love talking about. One is this, we have this product feature where if you search for, say, Java engineers in Bangalore,
Hmm.
now our data set knows that the representation of this cohort of this pool is about, say, 60% men and 40% women. So every search page that opens will have that representation. It'll be 60% male and 40% female. It's not like all the men came first and you
Yes.
never got to page 9 where where women were. So those are things that we have thought of deliberately to ensure that access to opportunity remains equitable, and we take it seriously, and we've built it into our product. We build it internally as well. So even as a company, we take women in engineering, women in tech, returning mothers very seriously, and we have structured programs, measurable programs, because otherwise it's all like warm and fuzzy and nice to have things, but with measurable programs that ensure that there is equity both within the organization as well as in our professional platform as well.
So, as I do understand, intentional inclusive design is something which is
Yes,
almost natural to LinkedIn.
yes, it is.
But while we speak about design, we also need to speak about the talent that complements this design. I know you've previously cited LinkedIn data where you spoke about how global AI talent is approximately only 30% of females.
Yes.
And I'm just curious because I think this is a very important conversation to have. From where you sit, what do you think is going wrong? Because this is a very, very staggering statistic. And what would you say, especially because we try to target our audience to young professionals who are trying to develop their acumen specifically in AI and other organizations? What would you say to the next generation of AI professionals trying to enter this space? And even generally, women professionals in tech?
Oh, that's a fantastic question, and I don't think there's like a silver bullet to solve
Of
for
course,
it.
yeah.
So it is a very, very sobering figure, the number that you mentioned, that
Hmm.
when we look at all of global AI talent on our platform, I think only 27% of it is female.
Hmm.
Now, we also know that AI is the technology of the future. It is going to be more remunerative than a lot of other technologies. It's likely going to be recession proof as well for some time to come. It is absolutely incumbent that we ensure that more women join this sort of technology in this movement. Otherwise, 10 years from now, again, we'll be sitting and discussing why aren't there more women in AI leadership? Well, because the we didn't build the pipeline, so you can't have 27% to begin with, and then what we've seen in our data as well. Forget even outside of AI, even in those industries where a large amount of women do join the beginning, where the profession is 40%, 50% equitable. By the time you get to manager, senior manager, director, by the time you get to C-suite, it can drop to as much as 12%. So you start with 50% and goes up to about 12%. So I shudder to think what's going to happen when you're starting off itself as 27%. There's absolutely, yeah, it doesn't look promising. And I think now is the right time to fix it. So I think there's also a study that we did. It's not a lack of ambition. We surveyed a lot of young women, and 96% of them wanted to learn AI skills. So it's not like there's a lack of ambition. So what can we be doing? Again, it's not something that one person or one part of the ecosystem can solve for. So this is one of those things where government, policymakers, academic institutions, uh, corporates, they all have to come together and solve it, and consciously solve for it as an ecosystem problem solution play. It's not like one company can or one part of the ecosystem can do anything about it. Yeah, so I think, how do we encourage more women who are already studying STEM courses, who you speak, depending on who you speak to, 40 to 50% of our computer science graduates are women right now. So how do we ensure that while they're in college, while they're studying STEM, they are encouraged to try these new courses, new disciplines, new technologies. How do we ensure that when they are in jobs and they're getting the necessary exposure, they're getting the right upskilling, and they're getting the necessary rotations within those jobs to opt for these newer technologies. Sometimes external policy, exogenous shocks help. Like, look, the government made it mandatory for companies to have this one woman director
Yes.
on the board, right? And it was only for listed companies. It's only for certain types of companies. But now it's sort of, every company wants to do it. They want to do the right thing. So sometimes you need some kind of an exogenous policy shock as well to ensure that movement happens. So I don't know what that form and manner is, but it's basically some amount of policy making, some amount of deliberate intervention in academic institutions, and some amount of deliberate action by companies themselves as well, especially large tech companies, to ensure that again, like I said, we're at the ground floor of this movement right now. We shouldn't be 10 years later talking about why are there no women leaders in AI.
No, but I think the fact that we're having this conversation is certainly progress on the
Yes,
very
yes,
issue itself. Um,
yes, 100%.
and
Yes,
I think one can positively look towards a far better statistic in the future as all of these exogenous policies and incentives become conventional, as you mentioned.
yes,
But yeah, and at this point, I feel I've been able to understand a lot about your role, a lot about what you do at LinkedIn, how LinkedIn is really helping the workforce become better and target more inclusive practices. But I now wanted to also, while we're leaning in towards the end of our conversation, I wanted to have sort of a lighter exercise. We've prepared a few rapid fire questions for you. And I was hoping I could have like one short answer, one word answers on these. So I'd love
okay.
to start.
I'll
Uh,
try. Short answers are not
Very
my.
simple answers required. First question.
Yeah.
What's one way AI has already changed how you work today?
Emails.
Email.
100, yes, 100%. Yeah, I am not very good at staying on top of my inbox. People who work with me know that I sometimes miss emails, or sometimes I delay in replying them. I'm not saying that I've gotten like I'm not fully there, but AI has been super helpful in helping me staying on top of my inbox and staying organized. Yeah.
What's one habit that helps you stay sharp in this fast moving work environment with 45 different emails coming into your inbox?
Relentless curiosity.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I consciously block out time in which I want to learn about new things, read about new things. I try and spend a lot of time with young people. Yeah, so I said relentless curiosity. Otherwise we'll get stale. Yeah.
Who's one person outside your industry who's had a really big influence on how you lead your work ethic, things like that?
It's going to sound very corny, but it's my mom. It's my mother.
Not corny at all.
Yeah, and I want to take a minute. I know you said short answers, so I want to take a minute here. So my mother is from Bihar. She did not finish high school, and she went on to build this very large international business behemoth. So what I've learned from her is like, never let your limitations come in the way of your ambition. You can dream as big as you want. What I've learned from her is growth mindset. Even before it became a popular term, she was like, I don't know it yet, but I can learn it and I can outwork anyone. And three is she led a team of about more than 20,000 people, and she could tell you their names and their life stories and what their aspirations were. Yeah, so I think she's a phenomenal leader, and I've been very, very lucky to watch her so closely and learn from her. Of course, I did not admit to any of this when I was a teenager, but now in hindsight, I think she's had a phenomenal impact on me.
Anyone I think would be unparalleled to the role model that your mother must have been. But and I know that you mentioned that you haven't read a lot of books, though I think that's a lie. But have there been any books or actually podcasts on leadership, technology, policy that have also positively influenced the way you carry out your responsibilities?
That's a fantastic question. I said I don't read a lot of. I read a lot of fiction. I don't read a lot of
Yes.
non-fiction and leadership books. But I think one of the books that I will speak about is this book called Never Eat Alone. And especially for a lawyer like me to come into public policy, which is very public facing and stakeholder management and building relationships. Because what I've learned in these years is you can't build trust at the point in time that you need it. You have to build it much before. And the same with relationships. Like you can't build your relationship at the point in time that you need it. And I think this book Never Eat Alone is basically it served as a useful guide to me, coming out from a very introverted back office contract drafting lawyer to a very public facing building an ecosystem, building relationship job. So yeah, I think that's a book I like. Yeah.
You've gone from a back office to a very people facing role, but and I know that you've done a lot in so many sectors, but if you weren't in law or tech, what would your dream career be?
I think my parents would have loved it if I became like a doctor or an engineer and all their dream. Or
Who's
if nothing,
dream?
then because I
Yeah.
have Bihari heritage, they would have at least liked me to have like become an IS officer. But if left to me, I think I would have liked to work in a publishing house. The person who gets to read all the manuscripts before they become famous books. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I think I would have loved that. Loved that. Yeah.
I have one last question for you. If LinkedIn had a status message for you this year, what would it be?
Oh wow. Trying to find clarity in a lot of noise.
No, no, I'm sure you are finding clarity.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful to know you through this conversation. I think we're coming to an end now, but I wanted to especially take out the time to thank you so much, Aditi, for having this conversation with us. I really hope that our audience enjoys what we have discussed today. And for our audience, do visit Carnegie India's YouTube channel to access all the episodes of the Anahita Speaker Series. Thank you and see you next month.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.